some people are fearful that it would take their jobs, or it's not going to be ethical or responsible in the coaching space, because coaching is an inherently human activity. It matters about a lived experience, it matters about presence, and therefore AI can't really replicate that.
Or wish that we couldn't use AI on social media because I think it could be this great place for us as humans to be able to connect and use it if we use it the right ways. And I think there's an evolution that needs to be able to come there. But when you add the artificial intelligence into the mix, what does that really do into our brain?
They'll crave that human connection. And I think where it may be overwhelming is to opt out. On social platforms, I'm very specific about when and how I use it. And I choose to opt out in order that I can give myself the space to be calm and to really think about what does it mean for me as a human? What's my purpose? How might I have the best impact or outcomes? And it may not be online.
Hey, what's going on, friends? Welcome back to another episode of Love Local Chicagoland. We're really excited to be here today, actually with a neighbor of mine. She's actually really, really cool of a human being that is really smart. But today, about many things, but today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. You see, she works for a company called International Coaching Federation, where she is the director of artificial intelligence, where she helps people in the coaching fields become better humans. You see in our conversation, we really talked about how artificial intelligence could be used for good if we use it the right way. And she also talks about the importance of being able to have the right ethics and to be able to understand the power of artificial intelligence. All of us need to know that so that we know what is real and what is not. You see, this digital world that we're in nowadays, it's important to know what's real, what's not, and really what to do if you're questioning things. So she's going to break it down, some best practices along the way to be able to give us some insights so that we could be better humans. And my friends, if you're not using artificial intelligence, find a way to be able to use it. For me personally, I use it as a brainstorming partner, and it really helps me create and it helps me bring the best ideas to life. And I love using that. And there's so many other ways to be able to use it. And we'll talk probably about some of those today. But I want to introduce you to my good friend and my neighbor and an artificial intelligence director of International Coaching Federation, Susan Caesar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's lovely to be here. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so it's good to see it actually happening.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, we see each other, you're walking your dogs, and we see each other, and I'm like, one day we're going to have this conversation. To me, I've thought about that with numerous people, and what I found is like the timing kind of works itself out when it's supposed to be able to work out. And
agreed. Yeah.
You're doing some really cool things with International Coaching Federation. You have a passion for artificial intelligence. You have you still have the podcast, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Still have the podcast. The name of that podcast?
Humane.org.
Humane.org,
yeah.
Which you're really bringing artificial intelligence to life and really being able to help make and allow people to have knowledge, right, when it comes to artificial intelligence. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. The timing is perfect. Artificial intelligence is alive and well within our world. And to me, it's, we talked in the prep conversation about, like, I heard through somebody a lot smarter than me, Seth Godin, which is like a Stanford PhD, that artificial intelligence could do to society what electricity did. And you seem to really agree with that. It could be a life-changing and a society-changing type tool, but it's about using it right. It's about using and doing it with ethics. And that's really what you're passionate about, and making sure that we do it in an ethical way so we could truly build a better tomorrow. So just leading into this, how did you get into artificial intelligence? Give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, so I guess all the way back when I started my career, I was in graphic design, so I was a creative at heart. But pretty soon I worked with a direct marketing agency, and I saw where when we generate responses from our creative activity, it ends up going into an operational space. And so I was curious about that operational space, and that's how I got into digital transformation. I've really, all of my career, been involved with any of the emerging technology and how that benefits people. So I've worked in global organizations, transforming the way that customers and employees experience an organization. It was through the internet many, many years ago when that first came out, computers actually even before that, then the internet, then mobile, social media, but all the way through it, AI has been a trend because AI is not new. It's been around since the 1950s. It was really ChatGPT and generative AI that it became mainstream. It became something that everybody knew about and had awareness around.
We're pretty in our pockets now, literally on our phones, right? My dad, he was in the military, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, we used artificial intelligence back in the day in the military. It's just it's changed so much now. He definitely doesn't have the depth of knowledge you do, but he mentioned that as well, and he talked about the internet kind of being the same thing. Like
exactly. It was military first, and then into the general public. Correct?
Yeah. Beautiful. So thanks for sharing. You're now working with International Coaching Federation. Talk to us a little bit about what you do there as an organization and your role.
Yeah. So the International Coaching Federation is the leading association for accreditation. So if you want to be a coach, and that could be a life coach, an executive coach, a well-being coach, there are many, many different types of coaches in the world. But if you want to be recognized with a professional qualification, then the ICF is the largest in the world for that accreditation. We have several levels of it.
So International Coaching Federation has been around for quite a long time, being able to help coaches become their best selves. You're in this role to be able to help with the artificial intelligence piece with the human coaches. Talk to us a little bit about what that is and what AI ethics is in general.
I guess the ICF, like any other organization, has, we've existed, we've grown, we've flourished before generative AI. And so everything about our 30 years to date has been about human coaches. But now with AI being more and more prevalent in our life and in our work, we, like any other organization, are thinking about, well, how does that change what we do? And how do we adopt and adapt to the opportunities that AI represents for us? And that's what my role is. My role is to work with our 62,000 members globally to help them understand or have awareness around what AI is. I'm working with technology providers to create AI in the coaching space in a way that is ethical and responsible, but also grounded in the competencies that are required for professional coaches. And then the third thing I'm looking at is how we might use AI or digital technology to improve the way that ICF operates its own business.
Oh, beautiful. How does that change? How does artificial intelligence change coaching in general? What does it do with coaching, and how does it help?
Well, our membership, I guess they're quite polarized in their views around AI. Some people are fearful that it would take their jobs, or it's not going to be ethical or responsible in the coaching space. Because coaching is an inherently human activity. It matters about a lived experience, it matters about presence, and therefore AI can't really replicate that. So ICF is very clear that coaching is a human practice, but the AI could be like an aid or an assistant to coaches for things outside of that coaching session, helping them with scheduling, goal attainment, maybe even their sales and marketing activity.
Kind of help them create maybe different workflows to be able to focus in on maybe things that they're good at and automate certain things within their business. Is that kind of what I hear you saying?
Some of our people talk about, focus on what your zone of genius is, and you do that because you're the human, you do this zone of genius. But all the other kind of administrative things could be done by AI.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's we could automate so much with artificial intelligence, right? Especially if we were patient enough to be able to build it out, to be able to help us just do the stuff that helps us move forward the most, right? We talked a little bit about AI ethics. In plain language, can you tell us what it is and what it isn't within a coaching context?
Well, if you think about the ethical use of AI within the coaching context, and I think this is also probably true generally, we shouldn't be putting PII data, so personally identified and identifiable data, into AI because that's going to compromise an individual. And obviously there are laws and legislation around that. So we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be using AI if we haven't got the consent of the people that we are in a coaching session with. So any client-coach relationship should have consent and transparency. And so again, we shouldn't be that's an unethical way of using it, if you like. And being very clear about what your intention is with using AI. If you're going to be using the transcript of a conversation, a session, it needs to be, all the personally identifiable records need to be, well, not present there. But how are we using it? Are we using it just to summarize the session, to remember what goals we've agreed, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. It's good to be able to know that, because there's so many tools and like shiny objects with it right now. It's good to know, like, when we prep talked, you talked about like not putting your personal information in there, your name, your date of birth, those powerful.
Yeah, none of
those are powerful things that could disrupt your life, right?
Well, and I wouldn't be putting that kind of thing in social media either. I think wherever you, if it's going into something that's digital, I would be very cautious and err on the side of not putting anything like that into those spaces.
That makes sense to me. What are some misconceptions with artificial intelligence and coaching, and some simple truths behind it?
Well, I think that AI is really good at recognizing patterns, doing administrative tasks, and looking at vast amounts of data. And so it could uncover insights that we as humans just probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do. So I think where it's pattern recognition, those types of things, it's a really good source, and it could help us with understanding, for instance, if you are in the coaching space, if your client has given you consent to record transcripts, you could load up maybe a whole year's worth of interactions with a client to understand how you as a coach are behaving, and if your client is attaining the goals that they're setting out to do. And it can help you spot opportunities to do things differently or to amplify things that are working well and you need to do more of.
Okay, that makes sense to me. AI, it could be really good for humanity, but it's about us humans using it in the right context, right? And being able to use it in ways that are efficient and repeatable. But just like being a human, at the core of it, it's being ethical and it's doing it the right way. When you talked about coaching and AI being better humans. I talked about it up front. And that's something that even a little bit that I have had experience with it, and just ChatGPT in my pocket or something, Gemini, Copilot, those types of things. I could see how it could make us better humans, but I could also see how it could be a detriment or not always give us the right answers. From your point of view, where do you see AI really helping coaches kind of take themselves to the next level?
Well, I think it's a bit like a Fitbit, if you like. If you've got something in your pocket that is helping you optimize your own performance, then I think it gives us the opportunity to really elevate what we do as people, as humans. And I think that's true for humanity overall. So the more that we have people doing better things, then we have a better world around us. So I'm optimistic that if we adapt and adopt it in the right ways, that it could help humanity. But I do think, to your point earlier on, it's really important that I advocate for human-centered design. So that means not using technology just for the sake of it, is to understand what needs and expectations do people have, and how might these technologies serve the purposes or serve humans, really, and designing it in a way that really does serve people and help them, augment what they're doing.
That makes sense. I was listening to a podcast, it's a pretty popular one out there. It was with Matthew McConaughey and Joe Rogan. They were talking about it. And I heard this in other places since then, but in their conversation, they talked about how we could become really stupid if we just use AI all the time. But it's about using it, kind of like you're saying it, as you're the human, you're the controller of it, but being able to use it right alongside to be able to use it for good. I look in our society and outside of coaching, but definitely could help the human side. But can we use it for climate change? Can we use it for other things that are big issues within our world, so that we can help learn quicker and better? So to your point, we could really make a vibrant world and make it pretty beautiful as we continue to go, but with the humans at the center of it, right?
Well, and our critical thinking, because I think I did a podcast on Pope Francis, and I think the thing that he said that I found very valuable was we shouldn't really have called it artificial intelligence, because the word intelligence is unique to being human, because intelligence is it's a lived experience. It's all of the interactions you've had in all of the contexts ever since you were born. That's what creates intelligence. And an AI is never going to be that.
Yeah, no, it's not. What did he say it should be called, or did he say anything?
I don't. You didn't give an alternative, but I've been thinking about that and thinking, well, how might we? I mean, I describe it as a tool. You know, it's not. I say AI because it's easy to recognize what I'm talking about. I tend not to say artificial intelligence because I wish we had called it something different.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and it's I was talking with friends about artificial intelligence, and we were talking about like robotics with artificial intelligence and where it could go. And it was like, so we could create as humans, can we use it? So we could use it for that. It'd be cool to have something that folds the laundry, that does the stuff around the house, like all those things, so we could just go in our zone of genius, kind of what you said early on.
Well, and they exist. So there's a product called Deo, I think it's DEO, which is a robot that does your housework, and it's, you buy them now. I mean,
that's pretty.
So
crazy.
It's already here.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But you know, it's everything is about how we use it, how we retain our critical thinking, and how we stay human and incorporate these things into our life, into our world, but in a way that makes sense for humanity.
Yeah, for sure. We don't want to become like the Terminator movie, right?
No.
Yeah, or the cyborgs. But we were talking through the prep call. You talked about 3 lenses of work. Can you talk to us about what those 3 lenses are?
Yes. So the way that I help our members create awareness around AI, and I'm hoping that I can get them to feel comfortable to find ways to adopt it and make use of it in their practice, in order that they can spend more of their time doing the thing that they're best at. You know, the client-coach relationship is where we want coaches spending more of their time, not on the administration of, their invoicing, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. The AI providers, so finding ways that we can help people know what of the technology that's out there is safe for use in coaching. And actually, this is probably a distinction to make, is that there are generic AI models like you've mentioned OpenAI, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, LLM. All of those products are generic tools that are not made specifically for the coaching industry or profession. But there are tools that are being built specifically for coaching, built on AI or leveraging AI. Examples would be BetterUp, Ovida, you've got Coach Hub, you've got Coach Bot. There's a whole range of tools that are emerging in our profession. And my role is to look at those and help those developers develop them in ways that are ethical and responsible. So we've got our AI standards and frameworks. So I work with developers to help them understand those and adopt and use them. But I think the other thing I'm keen to try and do is find a way that we can vet and validate that technology so that we can help our coaches, the membership, know which products have been vetted by or endorsed by ICF. We're not there yet. It's going to take a while for us to do that, but we're starting to explore that in a prototype research way.
How is it built? Like you talked about, like this is a generic AI for coaching. Is it like pulling like the top coaches in the room and like getting everybody's brain inside of it? Like it's me as a novice saying that doesn't know anything, but how does that build start where they get all that right information so that they can build the right tool? Well,
developers could build their AI technology in the coaching space in many different ways. So some of them could take the base level of a general LLM like OpenAI, any of those. They could take that, and that could be their base model, and then they build on it and train the AI. Others are creating LLMs, large language models or small language models, specifically, within their own development practice, using the competencies. So there are, within our credentials and within our exams, etc., there are a set of credentials that an individual human coach has to pass in order for them to know that their behavior is hang on, what's the word? So their behavior conforms to the competencies, the bars and anchors of coaching. And so what these AI developers are doing are developing their AI to understand these competencies. We've got 8 categories, and then there are many different levels within those 8. So they're training their models on those behaviors and anchors. And then when the AI is working with either a human client, or supporting a coach, it's calibrating against those competencies.
Oh, so it's pretty much just checking itself kind of up against it. Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. This isn't necessarily about coaching, but I if you're on social media now, there's just a lot of artificial intelligence made videos. OpenAI has a tool called Sora. There's a lot of other tools that are out there too that create videos that look really real. And to me, that we talked about it could be used for good or for bad, and those things, it scares me to think about how it could be used for bad with, confirming people's biases or stereotypes. How, for you, like, is there with AI and with social media, like, what advice do you have for, like, the community member that's out there, like, to make sure that, and this might even go outside of AI, just in social media in general, but what advice do you have for them to make sure that they're making sure that things are real and that they're confirmed?
Well, I'll quote one of my colleagues. He says, no matter what kind of happens in the future, we know that AI is the worst it's ever going to be today, right? So from here on in, it's just going to get better and better and better. So I think that's a real risk or concern, is how much material content will be created by AI without necessarily any human intervention. So for me, I think the thing that we should be mindful of is, what are our trusted sources? And I talk about this in 2 ways, really. One is, know the places, the organizations that you trust and you know that are doing the ethical and responsible thing to validate content before they broadcast it. So, your news sources, where do you go for your news? Where do you go for any public opinion? Those types of things, weather, those types of things. Know what your trusted sources are. And I think the second thing would be, who are your trusted people? So who might you go and validate any claims that you're hearing or anything that you're seeing with? And another thing that I do when I am using AI is I ask it to tell me the sources that it's used to provide the information. And then I go and check those sources. So I don't take the responses from AI verbatim. I go and research where that's come from, just to make sure that it's come from a trusted source.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I personally think, or wish, that we couldn't use AI on social media because I think it could be this great place for us as humans to be able to connect and use it if we use it the right ways. And I think there's an evolution that needs to be able to come there. But when you add the artificial intelligence into the mix, what does that really do into our brains? Like, are we really, some of the stuff that I've seen now, it's like, do we really need to see that? Is that really a positive thing? Is that really an uplifting thing? And that's what we're spending our time consuming. For me, I hope people that are listening, like, don't get involved in that stuff. Go focus, to your point, like, we're local people. Like, go trust your local people. Like, get to know the people that are local, their voices, who they are, who their hearts are. And I think that even on a broader scale, that's still important, obviously, to know your sources and to know you're going to get a repeatable answer for certain things, and not to believe everything you hear. And I feel like it's kind of a scary time right now out there because there's so much stuff coming at us, and you throw the AI into the mix and how it could create and recreate. It could spin stories. It could confirm people's biases, and it could, in my opinion, with the social media platforms, be a very dangerous tool on those platforms if us as humans aren't really thoughtful of making sure that we check the sources, making sure that we're understanding that and the people and the voices behind it are really, really important, and being able to confirm that they know what they're talking about. So
and I think it can be overwhelming, but I think things like you're doing with Love Local Media is we probably will gravitate towards things where it is really human. I think maybe, the human experience is going to be the premium level of whatever interactions that we have. And so I think there'll probably be a movement towards more of that. We'll crave that human connection. And I think where it may be overwhelming is to opt out. I don't do a lot now on Facebook, just because I shouldn't maybe name names, but on social platforms, I'm very specific about when and how I use it. And I choose to opt out in order that I can give myself the space to be calm and to really think about what does it mean for me as a human? What's my purpose? How might I have the best impact or outcomes? And it may not be online.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like over the last year, I feel like I've been focused in on more than a year and a half. I post and run. I don't spend much time on the platforms, especially Facebook, Instagram now too, TikTok I've used in the past. It's more like I'll get in, I'll get out, maybe I'll see my friends group and what they're posting, but there's just so much out there. And something I said on a recent podcast, like what we put into our brains kind of sometimes could come out. So instead, to your point, like coming from within, making time to kind of relax, to read a book or take a walk or do whatever, what's coming out at you. I think that's the beauty that we could create as humans. But if we're only regurgitating junk or things that are, your friend, then misinformation, then your friend, it's not a healthy way to live, in my opinion. And I think we could. I think we could be better humans by limiting our screen time and not allowing it to having that intake all the time with social media, especially now when there's not really any. The policies have been lightened around, and some of them haven't been put in place for tools like AI. And to me, I'm like, I almost think social media shouldn't even have AI, and it should just be us humans being able to connect. Obviously, people smarter than me will put those policies into play, but it's important to be human.
Well, I quite liked the way that you differentiate there. So at the moment, I think we've got a very consumer kind of economy, and it would be great if we stopped being a consumer economy and actually started being about critical thinking, creation, connection. Those are more important than all the consumption that we do of products or social media spaces and that kind of thing. It's not allowing us to be and to really think. Yeah,
wow. Yeah, you said a lot smarter than me, but we're made uniquely. I think we would consider ourselves artists. On the outside of this job, even though I bet you in both of our jobs we consider ourselves an artist type, and there's a way to create and to be able to build. But if you're only consuming things, you're not having time to be able to create and to be able to build and to be able to do what's in your heart. And I personally don't think that's the healthiest way to live. Connecting with people, getting in a community with people, rooting people on in healthy ways, or you're fired up about things that they're doing too and wanting them to win. Like, I hope we could get to that as a society, and maybe we could use AI to get rid of the clutter in our life so that we could really focus in on creating and building. I think our community hears me say we're all uniquely built, and it's about us being that unique person with what's in our hearts, and that's what could bring us the most joy in this world. But if we're only consuming content, we're missing out.
Well, I do think this, is more than a tech shift with AI. I think it is an opportunity for us to reinvent what it means to be human and to identify our purpose as individuals, but then to connect with that purpose with other people that maybe have the same beliefs, the same purpose. That's I think, the opportunity that we have. And
when we do that, we go so far. I look at us in the local community and the things that are happening, and it's just that. Like, we all have our niches. We all have our skill sets, but we're going after this common goal. And when we are doing that, like, the end is in mind, but we all get to stay in our happy spots. Like, there's pure joy in that. Even in craziness of the world right now, when you're working collaboratively with people with different skill sets, but with the same end in mind or same goal in mind, the world could be abundant, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah. And I think also there is research around, in the future, we probably will have more non-profits as a consequence of that. People are really aware of what's happening in the planet, their role within that. their purpose, and as a consequence of that, we probably will have more. Well, I think there is research to show there will be more nonprofits in the future.
Yeah. What type of nonprofits? What do you mean?
Well, I think that there will be rather than an eruption of sort of the for-profit world, we're going to have more non-profit organizations who are generating wealth not for the owners of it, but for the purpose. So I've got a non-profit. I imagine you do too. Love Local Media, I think, is.
It's not. It's we thought about. No, that's okay. You can keep that in there. But we just talked to an attorney this morning. It's a for-profit company. It's by design and what we think is strategic long term. But we're putting a nonprofit arm in there. It would be Love Local Charities or Love Local Foundation. We went back and forth, but I think it's going to come out to Love Local Foundation. And that allows us to do nonprofit things. It allows us to fundraise. It allows us to get stories out there, to be able to build community where we could pay our team and we can make sure we're all moving forward, but we're able to do social good too, So at one time, I think I thought it was going to be a nonprofit. I think what I learned was that there's more we could do if we kind of do a blend of both for what we want to be able to do long term. And I felt like having a for-profit side would help us drive revenue, but also having a nonprofit arm so we could really focus on social responsibility within our local communities was really important. It took a while to get there, but like I said, we coincidentally we talked with an attorney this morning and are looking to be able to move that forward. So we have a blend of both. But and the reason I was asking is I think nonprofits, we could change the world, and if we focus in on our own niches and the things that we need to be able to make better. I think what I've learned over the last 5 years is getting out into community is there's a lot of passionate people that want to make our community stronger places to be able to live. It's about the funding, it's about the capital, it's about the fundraising, it's those things to be able to do that are the hardest parts. But if we could solve more problems and go quicker and fix our society to become better, if we can build nonprofits, and if we could do it, whether it's mental health or whether it's kids in school or mentoring, or for us, we're going to have the nonprofit arm for community and for what we think is social responsibility of being able to connect and our community locally. It's something that's really important for us, and we've seen so much benefit from it. So I'm glad you said that. I think it's insightful, and I hope that you're right.
Well, ICF, the International Coaching Federation, is a non-profit, but also my non-profit, Humane Org, I set that up to advocate for diversity, because I think it really matters. Not only, Humane is about AI within and human ethical and responsible use, same kind of ideas as we've been talking about. But I care about diversity in the data sets so that the way that we use AI in the future will be helpful and representative of all humanity. But I also think the more that AI is undertaking the administrative tasks, the transformation will really come by having diversity within our human population and human workforce, so that we can really have those big breakthroughs like you talked about, climate change, things around how we might help each other, humanity, etc. So solving problems.
The world could truly be abundant if we use the tools right, and we ourselves as humans are the operators of it. When we create with that, it just is a pencil. We have to stay present, because I think if there isn't that human, or in the tech world we call it human in the loop, you really need to have the AI being designed, administered, checked, balanced by humans, the quality control. That makes sense.
That's why we've got to lean in.
Please keep leaning in. What I want to do is, as we get ready to wrap up, we brought in a new myth versus reality type segment for our guest. So I will share a myth, and then just tell me if it's tell me the reality pieces of it. So a myth could be AI replaces coaches.
Yeah, that's not going to happen because of the fact that I said coaching is inherently human, and it matters about presence. I mean, you and I sitting across the table right now, there's a different dynamic because I can see your eyes, I can see you being human in front of me. And even if we had an avatar that looked pretty good, it's never going to be that same lived experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're made uniquely, right? And if we all become robots, are we really unique?
Well, actually, the phrase also, people talk about chemistry, don't they? You can't imagine having chemistry with an AI.
No. Yeah, that's totally true. AI is the next one. AI is therapy. What's your thoughts there?
No, again, there is a research paper on Therabot, which I think it's the Dartmouth University that has been using AI in the therapy space. But again, it's I'm not a therapist and I'm not trained in that space. But I think it would be dangerous to think about AI operating in a way where, if you're using in that way for yourself, I would recommend not to. I don't think that's a responsible use of AI.
Yeah, I think they don't know you and your heart. They could give you a direction maybe, but I feel like it's not a replacement of therapy by any means.
No, and
yeah, therapy's therapy.
The large language models really are patterns of data. It's not going to understand the human impact or the human implications of therapy or even a diagnosis. It's not going to understand that.
That makes sense. All right. To me, I think we're obviously small businesses and nonprofit related here at Love Local. Are we too late with AI? And how could we use it? I would think so.
I think we're still at the very early stages. I talk a lot to people about AI, and still not everybody's really leaning in to adopt or understand how they might use it for their business. So absolutely, nobody's too late. I think now's the time to get involved. I think there is just something I would say in terms of try not to use free versions of any AI, because if you're using free versions, any of the data that you're putting into it is being used to train the models. So if you are going to use AI, I would advocate for using a paid version of it, and do things where if you have a level of expertise about something, use AI from your level of expertise. So if you are an expert on, let's say, photography, just play around with AI and see what it knows about your expertise of photography, and that gives you a level of how well is it representing the topic you know a lot about.
Yeah, that's really good advice. What else should our audience know about what you do with artificial intelligence or AI, as you would say that you want to share?
I would read the service agreement. So whenever you're signing up for any use of a product, you'll have the service agreement. Don't scroll all the way through and just accept it.
Totally guilty, Susan.
Right. I would totally read what it's saying, especially things like how does it treat the data? How does it train its models? You really should have a look at what that's saying about that, but also where their data is stored. So data may be stored in the US, it may be stored in China, may be stored in Europe. It would be important for you to know where your data is being stored.
Why is that?
Because of the legislations that those countries have around AI. So the legislation may be more lax in one area than another. I mean, I know at the moment Europe is perceived to be the strongest legislation around AI, so the EU AI Act, and it's kind of like the gold standard. And therefore, you've got a level of comfort or confidence about how your data is being stored and treated.
That makes sense. How about the United States without getting yourself in trouble?
Well, I couldn't comment on that.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being on the show today. And I'm excited we got to have this conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. And nice to meet all of your guests, your hosts. Sorry, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to connect with your community.
Yeah, well, it's grateful to have you. You are a part of my community.
That's
you
true.
Literally live next door. So we love local, and we love to be able to bring stories and connections to life from people that live in our local communities, and that's something that we're passionate about. So
Beautiful.
I appreciate you so much for being here, and I'll see you obviously on the street as you walk your dogs. My friends, it's important to know how AI it could be used and how it could be used for good. We just talked to Susan and talked about how it's being used with the help of coaching to be able to help bring better humans to life as they continue to do the work that they're doing within her organization. We talked a little bit about the social media piece, which not necessarily is in her line of work, but she talked about some really good tips, in my opinion. What is truth out there? Just be careful. Like, who knows what truth is? Be careful. Look at the sources. Look at other places to make sure that what you're seeing is truthful. It's a weird time in our world, and it's important to know what truth is. I believe in what she says, which I think we are going to become even more human and crave that connection more with each other. And I think that's kind of a part of the reason why we're doing Love Local the way that we're doing, because we're better when we connect with each other, we're better when we get to know each other, and we're better in community. And if we do those things and we also use tools like AI and we use them for good, we could totally make this world abundant and beautiful. But it's going to start with us connecting. It's going to start with us being good humans to each other. And it's going to start with us getting into community with each other, because that's usually where that stuff really thrives. So thank you for watching. Hope you got some value from Susan today. Appreciate you all. Support local, love local. We're stronger together. Peace.